We're going to move to item number G, City Manager's Comments, Update on City Operations. Mr. Olson?
Thank you, Mayor. You all ought to have a property maintenance code index in front of you. I think a week ago, or at the last meeting, we handed out a proposed property maintenance code, and I just want to draw your attention to that for future discussion. You might want to take time to preview it and prepare for that. I wanted to mention that last Tuesday, the City Council held a planning retreat, and from that retreat there were 3 priorities that emerged for the council to really concentrate their effort on during 2015. The first of those priorities is residential roads, and the council kind of set some targets, some goals to identify sustainable, sufficient annual funding to promote the reconstruction, maintenance, operations of our residential roads. I will say that the council spent a lot of time over the past several years dealing with other important aspects of our street maintenance and operations system, and this residential road piece is the final effort. It's going to be a challenge to evaluate and find the right answers, but the council set that as a #1 priority to work on during 2015, and certainly the staff will be as supportive as possible in helping the council work through those important issues. The second priority set by the council deals with water policy, and will contain things like development of water supplies, future supplies, industrial desalination, groundwater, the potential for groundwater development, aligning our water and wastewater strategies, dealing with our rate model for utility rates, and also our governance model for how we operate not only our own municipal system, but the regional supply system. And then the third priority that was set by the City Council deals with our economic development policy, and included inside of that heading will be things like dealing with infill policies and adaptive reuse of existing properties, downtown redevelopment, targeted recruitment of new businesses, and the incentive and packages that may go along with that. So those are things that we can look forward to having high on our priority list for policy development and work with the City Council. In conjunction with that, I want to mention our 3D process, because it has been very effective for us. Over the course of time, we approach an issue in kind of 3 steps, and we call it the 3D process. First of all, we go through a discovery process where we evaluate facts and alternatives and costs, and try to get facts on the table that we all understand and can deal with. And then we move to the second D, which is to discuss. During that process, we look at pros and cons. We look at the impacts of applying different alternatives, and we start to evaluate our preferences. And then we move to the third D, which is to make decisions. And this is a very public process. Well, the whole thing is a public process, but when we move into the decision-making phase of this overall process, we make sure that we include the public. We get informal input. In some cases, we get formal input through public hearings. And when we get down to, before we make an absolute final decision on a new policy development as it comes forward in the form of a resolution or an ordinance, We always put that on at least 2 readings of the City Council's agenda, so that on one reading it's clearly introduced as a formal action the council is getting ready to consider. And then at a subsequent meeting it comes forward as a second and final reading. I wanted to mention this 3D process for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think the public sometimes misunderstands the process that we use, because we often see an item come on for discussion, which is the first D, and people misunderstand and think we're getting ready to decide, or that we've already decided it and we're kind of shoving it forward for a decision. That first D is really the beginning of discovery, and we learn things, okay? Sometimes we even change our mind about things. We get facts that mold some future thinking. And there are occasions where people approach an issue with kind of a predetermined bias about it and learn things from our factual discovery that alters that thinking. We've seen it time after time amongst the City Council. This process is very deliberate, and I think it's worked really well for the council over the past couple of years, as you've taken on some pretty significant issues and worked through them in a methodical way. So I just want to emphasize the process that we use and will be using on these 3 major priorities that the City Council has identified. Some of the components of these 3 priorities are already underway. For example, water rates. You're going to hear next week the beginning introduction of our discussion on water rates. What you'll hear when Mr. Van Vleck steps up to begin that process is that we will have scheduled or plan and recommend that we schedule 11 different discussion times on that. That will include discovery on the front end for several meetings, and then it will include discussion before we ever get to the decision making. So that's another example of how this 3D process works when we're dealing with key policy issues. And on our agenda, almost every time on our agenda, we have briefings or presentations or discussion items that are part of this 3D process. I think it's a good process. I believe the council has done, as I said before, done very well with it. I'm off to another subject. We have been planning for a joint meeting of the City Council, the Type A Board, and the Economic Development Corporation's key leadership. And we've been moving towards a meeting of March 3rd on that joint meeting. We've run into a bit of a snag. I want to run past the council this morning, though. We have asked Toby Futrell, who was a facilitator during for the council's retreat, to also be a facilitator for this meeting this joint economic development discussion meeting. And what we found is that she needs to pre-interview, I think, at least 21, maybe as high as 25 people, let's say. She needs to interview them and get a scope of, start to scope the concerns and lay out a strategy for the meeting. And that would have to be done inside of about 2 weeks. And I don't think she can get that done in time. So what I want to run past you is the possibility of pushing that meeting back from March 3rd. I'm not sure exactly what to recommend. We've got spring break in the middle of March, and probably the next best date is the first Tuesday in April. I think it would be April the 5th. 7th. April the 7th. We might be able to do it sooner than that. I think Toby will be ready sooner than that, but I'm not sure we can pull all the calendars together sooner than that. So I'd like to recommend that we move to April the 7th on that meeting. And
Before you move forward on that, from my perspective, I have to tell you, I'm a big believer that haste makes waste, and we want to make sure we get this right. And also, I want an opportunity for our new leader at the EDC to at least have 30 days to, take a break from drinking out of the fire hose. And so, I'm comfortable unless anyone has any problem. Mr. Risley, are we able to talk about this? Or should I not? Should we wait?
Well, you're just talking about scheduling at this time.
Correct, just scheduling. Okay, just want to make sure that we're in compliance. Does anyone have a problem with the April 7th date? We're good.
all right.
Ms. Riojas?
The only question I have or comment is, do we know if that date works for the other agencies, the EDC and the Type A? Or is this the first that we're kind of vetting it? Okay.
This is the first.
So it works for us and you'll get with the other two groups?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we have the best date, but we'll start here.
I-
Yeah, good question. Okay,
Again, we're talking about bringing 25 people together, and it's unrealistic to think that all 25 are going to be able to be there. People's calendars simply don't work that way. So we'll move with the April the 7th. The final item I had to mention to the council is one of kind of employee relations, employee morale. For the past couple of years, we've been attempting to do several informal city activities, city employee activities. We do this on Saturdays. I mean, it's completely voluntary, and we've done things like we've had a couple of motorcycle rides. Surprisingly large number of people in the city actually ride motorcycles and have a good time with a I don't know what you call it, a employee motorcycle ride. And we've done a beach party, we've done a canoe activity, and we've also done an employee talent show. I think the most successful of all of those activities has been the employee talent show. It was actually kind of surprising how much talent we really have. Some of it is professional quality, and some of it is just silly, but it's all fun. And I mention that because on February the 28th, we will have our second annual employee talent show. And I want to make sure that the City Council is invited to participate if you'd like to, but certainly to attend. I think you'd find it entertaining, and it provides an opportunity to get to know many of our employees on a more personal, less business, less formal basis. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I was a little apprehensive last year. I'm not your stand on the table and dance kind of guy, but I really enjoyed the talent show last year. So I commend it to you. I think it would be good if you can get it on your calendar and spend part of an afternoon with this activity. I think you'd enjoy it.
I went last year to your first annual. I had so much fun, and it was so impressive. And what was really great is I was able to participate in the chicken dance and that portion. But it was just wonderful to see even all the employees and their families also come on stage and do the chicken dance in the end. But it was very impressive, and it was a lot of fun. So thank you for continuing that as an annual event for now.